Hi guys, I'd just like to make a few more observations about because I look at the UK from outside, and you can sometimes see things better from the outside than you can if you're in the cauldron itself. That goes for anything, like relationships, and people can often see from the outside what's happening better than people who are involved in the actual turmoil situation. And I think that's the case with the UK. Now, what I can see is like the importance that's being put on this Starmer and his little band of sleaze bags, and they're not really that important um, in the bigger picture of what's wrong with the UK, in my opinion. They've just got rid of one guy, Sunak, who was one and the same person. He was probably actually a little bit more straight than Starmer and his gang. He wasn't really a sleazebag. He was just a detached kind of posh boy type guy who was detached from the real world, and he still is. And Starmer is kind of along those lines, but he's even sleazier, you know. Um, and and uh, and he's not even really as charismatic as Sunak, and that takes some doing. As Sunak he just read the script, and that was it with Sunak, and you know that was Sunak in a nutshell. He was detached. He was a posh kid, and outside of the real world, and he just read the script, which that's what he was. But like the problem with a lot of the UK population is they rely on these people. They think that these people are there to sort the country out, and they're not. Individually. Now, from what I can see here in Bulgaria, it doesn't matter about the government, especially at the moment, because there's a national consensus. The people more or less all sort of carry on life within the same codes, moral codes. Not all of them, obviously. You'll always get your criminals. You'll always get your this, your that. You'll always get the bottom rung of society, always. So that's the way a society is structured. So you will get all the different people, but like here, like the code is, especially on like crime and stuff like that. It's in general, everyone would be in the same moral sort of code. Whereas if there's a crime, you get punished, and it's not acceptable in society, and they don't accept those people. Like, say there was a crime or a criminal up this street here, they'd be ostracised. That's what happens. They get ostracised, and it just doesn't really happen that much. It doesn't really happen from what I can see. You might get the odd wayward lad, and but they're weeded out. That's what society does. They're weeded out. They're singled out, and but like in the UK, like in places like that, where the moral compass is lost, it's gone, and a lot of that was due to political correctness, and I would say other factors like overcrowding. It's out of control kind of thing, you know. When you get, it's just overcrowded and there's no cohesion in the population, and you know, another factor is it's fragmented. The people who have the moral compass of like here are like almost deemed to be right wing, you know. You know that's like conservative type views, rather than socialist stuff and political correctness, which lets people get away with being wayward, and you know, they're giving it's where something here would be accepted, like you know, different preferences of partners, shall we say, things like that, without saying too much of the words. You know, you got to be careful. Like where here, it's perfectly accepted, but it's not encouraged. You know, it's not encouraged. It's like that kind of thing. Almost a lot of things are accepted here. People don't give two hoots what people do. Other people do, as long as they're working within the framework of society, you know. And that's why we don't have police anywhere on the streets. In the rural areas, you just don't have them. You have the odd police car sat around, you know, doing nothing. And if they're not doing that, they're kind of harassing motorists. That's one thing they do. And you could argue that's like, you know, if the cars don't have all the documentation, you can argue, I mean, they should do, you know. And by and large, when I've been stopped, which is kind of, you get stopped, not really, really often, but from time to time you do. And once everything's in order, there's no problem, you know, just let you go. I think there used to be a bit of a, just a backhander kind of thing going on. But like, so they're the things that I can see, like there's too much importance on Starmer and people like him, and it's forefront in people's minds that when if they manage to get rid of him, everything's going to be okay again, which it isn't. It's not. You know, the worst thing that you've got in the UK and the West is money printing, and it's a problem in the EU as well. The ECB, the central bank, European Central Bank, they do the same with the euro. Probably without the permission of many of the states, you know, because these are private banks, you know. So you know, that's what they do. It's up to them how much money they print, and the Bank of England and all that. People think it's the government. Well, it isn't. You know, the government can pull strings with them, and they do deals with them, and you know, borrow money and sell bonds and all sorts of stuff like that. But the actual money system is not controlled by the government. It's controlled by private banks. And if you want to learn about fiat money systems, and that's the one thing which is coming to become a problem. And you see things now like the property is detaching from the wages. It's no longer, and that in itself should explain to you that there's something wrong with the monetary system. And that's what it is. The price of the house is not what it's worth. You know, if you priced everything in bags of shopping, right, then you know it wouldn't be worth, you know, how many bags of shopping you can buy with the wages that you get. And quite often it's kind of pointed out that like property should be around about 3 times the annual wage, around that mark, you know, and it still is in the Balkans, you know, or less in some cases, you know. But it's And plus, most people own their own places outright, so that's another thing, you know. That's another story anyway. Let's talk about the UK. So far too much importance is put on all these things like, and the media, all these things like, sleaze and they talk about things that aren't really that important, you know. But this is important. The property and the rents are detaching from the wages, and that's a problem, you know. That's where the cost of living has gone out of control, and the interest rates are detached as well from what they should be. Because when I was young, none of this was really a factor, because it was affordable. It was kind of like it is here now. People, you know, we never had excess money when I was young. Our families and that, nobody really had a lot of money, except of course, you know, there was different tiers of society. A lot more tiers in UK than there is here, actually. But there wasn't this like disparity. The lower tier, that's where you want to look at. The lower tier should be able to get through the day, right? And once they can't, you've got a whole section of people, like, if you say 25% of the population, which probably is and more now in the UK, who can't afford a basic standard of living without the fear of not having a roof over their head or enough heat or food, then you're in trouble. And that's what's happened, I think, in the UK. And it's Starmer. He's just a cog in the wheel. And people put far too much importance on these people and what they're going to do about the current situation, which they're probably not going to be able to get back under control, if you ask me. The way the price of the houses, that would have to be allowed to all come crashing down. You know, a cycle. And whether they do that or not is another thing. But they tend to do these easing things now, and they put the money back into the economy, and that's just printing money, and that'll create another problem down the line. And that's what's happened. That's what they did in 2008, the quantitative easing and then all the rest of it. And they try and control what should be a free market, you know. And that's what we've got here, largely in Bulgaria. The government don't really intervene that much in virtually anything to do with the way the economies. If anything, they'll do positive things, you know. And this is on an upward spiral, and over there it's on a downward spiral. Now it can change here, because that linked with the European Union and the euro to a degree. And I hope to God they don't go in the euro, because then they'd be in danger then. Because if the euro collapses, they've still got their own currency, and who knows, they could even depeg it, you know. But that's not an option if they do away with the lev. Anyway, that's another story. So the other things in the UK are the people haven't got this moral compass anymore. They haven't got this consensus between themselves. They just say we need more police. Well, you don't. What you need is more law-abiding citizens. And when you do things like make shoplifting acceptable and everyone goes along with it, that's the problem. Everyone's gone along with it. No one's said, no, this is not what's going to happen, because it wouldn't happen here. it will not happen, because the consensus is throughout society, even the government. They would not make shoplifting acceptable here. Nobody would. And that's where the difference lies. It would never be acceptable here. Now they might do even copycat. One day they might do these copycat gangs where they go into a shop, and those kids will be locked away, and the key will be thrown away. If it happens here in Bulgaria, they'll be caught. They will not be like, oh, we don't know who they are. Like, there's a mob going around Scotland now on buses, because they got free passes, and they say they don't know where they are, and they can't catch them. I mean, who can't see a gang getting on a bus and what they're going to go and do? And even the bus driver, he could alert somebody, or like have a code or something. It'd be easy to do, to say the mob's on this such and such a bus, and even the community will watch them all at the bus stop. Now all they have to do is just say to the cops, like, these guys are on the way to town, and they all know who they are. They will know who they are, and then they say they can't catch them because by the time they get there, they've gone. But they've got back on a bus with all the loot, and to say, like, they can't catch him. Well, what, they don't want to catch him because the shoplifting is not. They're not prosecuting for it, so they've got nothing to catch him for, and that's where it's all broken down. It's just that's when you know that's it. That society is broken, and that's the way it is in the UK. And then you've got the police and all the other places that are just woke, and everyone gets away with everything in a woke society. All the people who are degenerates, they're rewarded degeneracy in any way. Same with the schools, this teaching of adult content in schools. They've just passed a law here, and they're actually being leaned on by the UN. That why they don't allow it, And the people here don't want it. The government doesn't want it. The kids probably don't want it. Nobody wants it. There might be a few rainbow teachers around, but they'll be weeded out. They will be weeded out. Mark my words. Won't happen here. They passed it in law. You're not allowed to teach this stuff at school to children. Not allowed by law. So if you do, you'll be locked up. That's the law. The law is upheld here, and if anyone tries it now, they'll be locked up. End of. And nobody will be shouting out for them except like these people will be probably have gone for some training or been infiltrated in the universities in the UK and come back and want to be a teacher here, and are probably trying to kick it off here, but it's been nipped in the bud, and that's the difference between a society that has got a chance of and it's all self-rule here. It's all self-rule. Like, the police don't go around and rule in the place. It just doesn't happen. People look after themselves in an orderly manner most of the time. And if you want to punch up or anything like that, there are places where you can go. You go to the football, and it's like it's a thing. Go, and that's where you can go and have a punch up, or maybe in a nightclub or wherever, or take up some violent sports. Do it that way. If you want to beat each other up and things like that, there are places, and that would be acceptable. Like if two football hooligan gangs are knocking
7 bells out of each other. Well, that would be where you go and do it, like, and that would be all right, because they both factions. That's what they want to do, and it's contained, so people probably generally wouldn't have a problem with that, as long as they're not involving other people, which is probably the case, So, and that's where the UK has lost its way in many, many ways. And getting rid of Starmer is the least of your worries. That's the absolute least of your worries, because they can't fix what they're trying to fix, and they've also lost their way on the energy. I think they've just got rid of the last power station. I mean, that's just ridiculous when you look at how. Ask yourself the question: how has the UK ended up with the highest electricity in the world? Even like third world countries are cheaper for electricity, and the lights are on. And anywhere, Somalia and Eritrea, all these places, their electricity is cheaper than the UK. So how did they manage that? How can all the world manage to have the lights on in an affordable manner, except the UK and other places like that? And the answer is easy, because they haven't, they're not thinking properly. Okay, cheers.